Hey guys, welcome to Solo ReacTalk. Tonight I'm going to be reacting to Star Wars vs. Warhammer 40K episode 14, You Are on the Fastest Route by A.F.W.T.M.T. If you want to check out my previous reactions, remember the playlist card is going to be at the top. Just click on it and be able to access them. If you want to check out the original video as well as A.F.W.T.M.T's YouTube channel, the links are in the description below. Last week, it was episode 13, Faith and Fate Take the Stage. Yes, what an episode, I'm hoping for more from Shakti and Rogelia. However, I think we're going to be heading off to another battlefield, but you know, it was good. Episode 13 was good. If you have not watched episode 13, please go and watch it. Okay, go and watch it as soon as possible. Yes, so let's start with episode 14, You Are on the Fastest Route. All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
He was on his 9th attempt, and things inside the besieged Chimera had gone from bad to much, much worse. No matter what sequence Farnes could think of, no matter what code the Guardsman contrived, nothing was working. And was it any wonder? Farnes didn't know so much as how many numbers the code required, the input panel accepting as many digits as he typed into it, leaving him without any reference to how long the sequence of numbers should even be.
Yes, I remember this group of soldiers stuck in this personnel tank, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, they're still trying to access the systems of the tank so that they can move the tank to a proper position, because right now it's just stuck where it is and all they can do is just fire the weapons, you know. So yes, let's continue.
And while he sat there, guessing for their lives, his squad was running out of time. The vehicle rocked as the toy soldiers outside began hitting back in a big way, and if not for Gala's almost precognitive skill inside the heavy bolter turret, it was all but a given that the Chimera would have already been reduced to cinders and searing steel. Oh please, Holy Emperor of Mankind, please guide my hand! He prayed as he closed his eyes, dialing random numbers into the pad, and then biting his lips such that it bled, jabbing the Enter key. This time, the same rejection notice that had presented itself each instance before did not appear, and a new message took its place. Farnes felt lightheaded, hands tingling as he grasped the wheel before him and made sure his feet were against the correct pedals, waiting for the controls to unlock as his eyes focused on the new message.
By the laws of logic, this Chimera platform is declared locked and is hereby inaccessible until such a time as the proper rites of security reset may be preformed.
Guys, I think it's time you leave the tank. Just leave it. Just leave it right now.
Turn thyself in for punishment. Thy mind is unworthy of thine access.
The young guardsman felt all the blood drain out of his face, his grip slackening around the wheel of the vehicle. He reached out with a numb hand, pressing a cold finger against the steel keys of the input pad. There was No response, the message remaining unchanged. Using legs that felt utterly devoid of strength, he pressed against the pedals and found them locked. So that was it then. At first, he simply went limp, slumping into his seat and wishing he could will himself to die right there and then and spare the replique the shots they'd use. But then, a rage filled him, a defiance, a denial of the hand dealt to him. He gripped the wheel before him and grit his teeth, raising his heavy booted foot up from the pedals and aiming it at the display. "Thrown damned piece of treacherous!" He started to yell, spittle flying from his lips, when suddenly something happened that stopped not only him, but froze everyone in the vehicle, with the exception of Gala, who was far too enthralled in her bloody work to notice the change. The back door, the one that had been locked before, suddenly chimed and swung down and open. The sound and smell of the battle outside flooded the cabin of the APC, and in with it came a willowy, ethereal figure dressed in red robes.
A Techpriest?
Regin screamed, falling away from the wall-mounted lasgun he had been manning, and, drawing a pistol, riddling the figure with lances of red light. 8 shots passed.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Into and through the figure in red before Janice, who had been standing over Regin, had the good sense to kick his comrade in the face, knocking him out cold. The red-robed figure moved forward without pause or hesitance, even as it was struck by the lethal rays of light. The robe burned and smoldered, and then fell away completely, revealing that it was not a robe at all, but a portion of a Mechanicus banner. And the figure in question was barely that at all, no more than a floating head, or more accurately, a servo skull. The skull hovered between the stunned guardsmen, paying them no mind at all as it made its way into the driver's seat area.
Okay, luckily it was just a server skull and not, actually someone, because that person would have died, and that person would have been the only one who could have unlocked the Chimera tank, allowing it to move. So yeah. Ugh.
Granger, get that thrown damn door shut! Janice, get back on those guns! Kalak yelled, turning back to continue using his own weapon as his men heeded him a moment later. Meanwhile, the skull plopped itself down protectively over the input panel, and Farnes, who had frozen in place as this all happened, jumped with a start and lowered his leg back down to the pedals hastily. Sorry, I didn't mean it, he told the skull. It ignored him, settling itself over the panel and locking itself in place with several pincer-like claws. All the while, wires and mechadendrites slithered out from around the neck of the skull, finding various inputs around the panel and causing its obscured screen to go blank. Farnes jumped for a second time as the engines of the Chimera roared to life beneath him, and his squad gave a beleaguered cheer. He hesitated for only a moment before reaching to the lever next to him and jerking it into proper gear, the machine cranking and thunking in response. "Omnissiah, forgive me," he said as the Auspex displays blossomed to life around him.
I'm quite surprised that the clone troopers didn't bomb this tank up, with grenades or some sort of rocket launcher, something. I'm just quite surprised that all this time this has been happening, the clone troops haven't been using heavy weapons on this tank. Huh.
But I'm taking credit for that! He stomped on the accelerator and grit his teeth as the already smoking vehicle lurched forward in a sudden rush, almost kicking from the ground as it tore onto the base's main road. The base in question was a mess of fighting and chaos, but the Imperium was definitely on the defense, and a receding one at that. Farnes felt cold sweat sting his eyes. Where was he even supposed to go?
Turn left at the next intersection,
said the servo skull, speaking in an oddly pleasant, synthesized voice.
It's the GPS. Recalculating. Turn left and 1500 meters, then turn right.
Farnes marveled at the skull before reorienting on the road, hauling the wheel sharply as he came up on the intersection. "Left turn it is then!" he yelled to his navigator. The Chimera swung, almost tilting up to one side as it made the maneuver, narrowly avoiding 3 chasing missiles from heavier troops who had noticed the APC's frantic escape attempt. 3, but not the 4th. The Chimera was kicked hard enough to nearly topple over itself, skidding across the pavement like an ice hawk disc. For a moment, Farnes feared they would be sent flying over the edge of the platform, doomed to fall for nearly 10 minutes before hitting the lower levels of the hive. But his frantic efforts bore fruit, as the Chimera's tracks finally touched down for long enough to give him traction.
Keep right at the next vent,
said the Servo Skull. That's not going to be easy! Farnes shouted at it as he spun the wheel. Meanwhile, in the back of the Chimera's cabin, Calac, Janice, and Granger were busy dealing with the new 6-foot gash the rocket had created in their vehicle. The burning APC was already starting to peel sheets of its own armor from the persistent cascade of blaster fire which assailed it. The inside of the cabin becoming swelteringly hot as the hull redistributed the plasmic heat of the enemy weapons. With this latest wound, the clones could now bypass the failing armor completely, and several were attempting just that, lobbing grenades and hails of blaster fire into the breach. Gala's strafing lines of death kept them from getting too comfortable or accurate, but even so, it was all the other 3 could do to cluster near the mouth of the breach and fend off their attackers, tossing back grenades and returning fire. Back in the driver's seat, Farnes was crushing the accelerator pedal into the floor of the Chimera, knuckles white on the wheel as he came to gradually realize that, instead of driving out of the besieged base, he was being directed further in.
Make a left turn at the next intersection, and your destination will be directly ahead,
said the skeletal navigator. Burning Throne, you better be sure about this! He yelled as he hauled on the wheel, skidding the Chimera to one side and almost flipping the APC altogether as he made the final bend. Before him, Farnes could see only a distant but rapidly approaching dead end in the form of a massive red wall, the wall of a Mechanicus shrine or temple of some sort. The building had 4 sides, a flat top, and it tapered almost pyramid-like near the top. Upon it was the half-bone, half-mechanical skull that was the symbol of the Church of the Machine God, and all over its pitted red hull were fires and flaws born from the battle raging around them.
I think this servitor skull is, directing you guys back there for some particular reason. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, I think you guys are going to be okay for the most part. Yeah, trust in the Silver Skull. It's saving your guys' lives. Yeah.
Increase speed. You are now on the fastest route to your destination.
What? Wait! You know that we're not trying to die, right? Farnes said, foot still glued to the accelerator.
Acknowledged. Maintain course. You are now on the fastest route to your destination.
The young guardsman grit his teeth until he was sure they would crack. His hands were freezing, his guts were dancing in his body, his fear surging in him like a current of weakness which struggled to break him from the inside. His faith flailed against it, but it was proving less and less effective as the temple's walls grew closer and closer.
How fast can this Chimera tank go exactly, I just want to know. How many kilometers per hour can it go?
He wanted to close his eyes, but knew doing so would be the same as diverting his path. Can I slow down now? He yelled.
Negative. Maintain course. You are on the fastest route to your destination.
The wall...
I mean, why would it want to kill you? Why would it want you guys to crash into the wall and die? No, there's a reason why it's doing this. So trust in the servitor skull, It's taking you somewhere, I'm not sure where, but trust in it. Yeah, it doesn't want you guys to die.
All was swallowing his vision now, so large in his view that he could see little else. Don't close your eyes, he ordered himself. Don't close your eyes! Don't close your eyes! Nerva released a silent howl of pain into the noosphere, finding herself isolated and alone.
Nerva? Is that her name? Nerva? Okay. Nerva.
She wished she could jump out from her physical body and into the data currents of the new sphere itself to escape the certain death and failure which faced her now. But all she could do was mute the pain receptors in her left arm as the limb, both burnt and seizing from the blue energy bolt which had struck her, continued to convulse, tearing her muscles apart, both the mechanical and the organic. She managed to stay on her feet, spinning to face the clones who had caught up to her in the corridor. 3 of them were charging down towards her, blasting all the while. 2 more blue shots sailed past before she was able to orient her Formaster's eradication ray gun down the hallway with her remaining arm.
Eradication ray gun. Whoa! How does it eradicate the enemy? Like, does it vaporize them into nothingness or what? Oh, eradication.
The shot was imprecise, but it barely needed precision. The satellite dish which served as the nozzle of the weapon erupting in a cascade of orange and red light. The light seemed like any other, save that it reddened the walls where it touched steel, and it shone straight through the clones, first blackening their armor before blowing them away silently like collapsing ash sculptures struck by a persistent breeze. Nerva sighed and sagged under its weight, groaning aloud at the sound of the weapon's warning chime. She had no idea if that was serious or merely the incessant mewling of the gun's grieving machine spirit.
I think it needs juice.
She hoped, for her sake, that it was the latter. Hefting the gun, and finding that her now numb and useless left arm was finally settling down, its flailing now reduced to errant twitching, she continued her journey into the central bay. It wasn't long before the hallway she was traversing led out into a wide, open area. At a glance, she could see that it had not been spared, flames and damage apparent in the walls and ceiling. But, to her relief, she saw that the ultra-lift platforms used to bring this super heavy vehicles up from the below-ground maintenance shrines were still visibly intact. Less pleasingly, she could also see that the room and lifts had been secured by no less than 8 of the enemy replique soldiers. Nerva firmed her lips, hefting her gun to aim at the clones, even as the 2 seemed to notice her, signaling in her direction towards the others. This time, she fired first, but instead of unleashing another devastating torrent of deadly light, the weapon released another chime. Nerva blinked and pulled the trigger again, eliciting another useless chime. The weapons of her enemies, however, were far less musical and far more lethal. She screamed her
Wait, so she's using clone trooper guns now? Oh, okay.
all too human panic into the silence of the new sphere as she tossed the useless weapon aside and dove behind a large block of stacked crates. She briefly considered reconnecting the nerves to her left arm, but dismissed the idea almost instantly. The last thing she needed right now was to be flooded with agony, even if it meant the loss of her arm. Nerva knew she needed her mind much more, and needed it as unclouded as possible to accomplish her goals. Those goals, currently, were mostly about survival, which was proving less and less likely with every passing moment. She had only a single deployable monoblade left, a 10-inch length which she could protrude from the centermost knuckle of her right hand. She looked at it then, deploying the black steel, almost laughing at how pathetically inadequate the weapon was for her current situation. And yet, she had not the means to create or produce anything better, and so, with lethal resignation, she began to crouch, preparing to advance. Just then, 3 of the clones appeared, running around her cover and surrounding her, guns out. She felt her whole body become as cold as steel. She didn't even try to rise as the clones began to pull the triggers on their blaster rifles. That was that, then. As soon as this new resignation settled over her, it was shattered, along with the wall beside her, with a bone-shattering crash. A chimera, burning and coming apart, burst through the metal wall in a spray of metal and bolt shells, firing even as it careened into the 3 clones who had cornered her. The vehicle swiveled and spun, terminating its erratic journey when it crashed into a partially disassembled Lumen Rust battle tank. The remaining clones reacted quickly, but most of them were not quick enough, the death-spitting turret at the top of the burning vehicle spinning to face them. blowing troopers apart with sustained fire and driving those that remained into the hallways for cover. Nerva felt almost weak, numbing more and more of her emotion and nerve receptors. Now was no time to gawk or even praise her luck, a point that was driven home as several more clones began flying into the building, carried aloft by their jetpacks. These two were countered, however, as the back of the Chimera fell open and a squad of 4 Imperial soldiers charged out, one of them bearing an unconscious comrade over one broad shoulder. They opened fire into the breach, striking the clones there and forcing them back. As they did, a familiar skull, Bofin 337, came zipping out after them, heading straight towards her. In an instant, Nerva understood that her salvation had not come from sheer chaotic chance, and, despite herself, allowed a display of human affection as the skull approached her. Smiling in spite of her condition, she wrapped her working arm around the servitor and pulled it close.
Wow, this is the first time I actually hear of a Techpriest of Mars, you know, showing emotions to tools, to machines like this. Yeah, this is the first time. Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Bless you, Bofin! You are a seraph of the machine god himself! She praised, speaking her thoughts to the skull over their new spheric connection. The device sent back several purrs and chirps of approval, recognizing its task as complete. She had...
Oh, so you talk English, or you talk High Gothic, I should say, or Low Gothic, I'm not sure, to the Imperial soldiers, but then when it comes to your master here, you start, you know, making those sounds, the beep bop beep bop 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 beep bop sounds. Okay, I see you now. I see you.
Only a moment more before a grizzled, sweating sergeant stomped up to where she was kneeling. He hefted a smoking las rifle, its barrel glowing and stinking of ozone. The man's eyes were bloodshot, and Bofin's auspic scans showed that he had a dangerously low amount of melatonin in his body, though his cortisol levels were abnormally high, even for the situation. The man looked down at her with an unkind grin. "Well, Techpriest, I'm guessing you called for help."
Okay, yes, there's still about like 30 minutes left, so let me just say my final thoughts for episode 14, Star Wars vs. Warhammer 40K, episode 14, you are on the fastest route, made by A.F.W.T.M.T. Yeah, this was interesting. It's interesting how the Chimera tank with all the Imperial soldiers, Imperium soldiers, was saved by this servitor skull, you know, as it came in and reactivated the Chimera tank, and, you know, directing them to where its master is. What's her name again? Nerva. And yeah, Nerva was about to die. She was really about to die right there. Her gun was failing her. It was jamming. And yeah, the clone troops were surrounding her, and just in the nick of time, you know, the Chimera tank burst through the wall, killed all those clone troops, and then also the cannon on the top killed the rest of the troops that were, you know, in the distance. So yeah, she's lucky. Nerva is very lucky, and the soldiers within the tank are also extremely lucky. They could have died. I mean, if they used heavier weapons on the tank at an earlier time, you know, maybe things wouldn't have turned out this way. You know, they would have died, and Nerva would have died as well. So yeah, lucky. Everyone here is just lucky. Guys, yes, that's it. Remember, if you want to check out the original video as well as AFanWithTooMuchTime's YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. If you like my reaction, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos. And let us continue with AFanWithTooMuchTime.
Hey there, loyal listeners. This is a fan with too much time, and it is good to be back. So, I was actually going to use this after talk to talk a bit about Cyberpunk and my thoughts on the game and how I think it's getting a really, really bad rap because, you know, we're no strangers to buggy releases. I'm not saying that I'm for buggy releases, but I am saying that we give EA and a whole lot of other companies that are way, way less consumer friendly than CD Projekt Red a whole lot less shit for really buggy bullshit releases.
Yeah, you know, with Cyberpunk, honestly, I haven't played it yet. I haven't played the game. I've only seen, you know, people play the game on YouTube, and it looks nice. It's just that, yes, it has its issues. And, you know, maybe the company that made the game, they made too many promises, made very big promises, and, you know, it just didn't live up to those promises. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons why people see the game as such a letdown, because they were expecting a lot from it, and what they got was just not it, you know. And the only excuse that the company gave was that, you know, we're going to put patches, we're going to try and fix this, we're going to try and fix that. But, you know, these are the type of things that they should have dealt with before, you know, taking out the game to public. You know, test the game, make sure that the game is stable, make sure that all that is required is in the game, so that, you know, when people get it, they're not going to be having complaints. But they didn't do that. I don't know why, but yeah, interesting. Let's continue.
And I was going to make an entire spiel about that, but honestly, the video that I'd already linked to in the community section, it basically says the gist of what I was trying to say, and more than that, I think that what I'll do is I'll just show you. So what you're seeing now is just some of my gameplay from me playing Cyberpunk. You're just going to see some stretches of my gameplay.
For some reason, it kind of reminds me of Deus Ex. Maybe not Human Revolution, but Mankind Divided in some sort of way, just darker. Yeah. Huh.
I will edit some of it to, like, preserve, how do you say, spoilers. I'm going to try to keep you guys from having spoilers. There will be some mid-tier spoilers for side quests, because, you know, you have to watch me do something, right? But I will go ahead and make sure that nothing in the major storyline gets ruined, or at least I'll try to work to that. Aside from that, it'll just be footage that you see, unedited. And I'm not saying there's going to be no glitches. I'm not going to be saying it's going to be 100% clean. But I think that when you watch what I'm playing, you will see why, for me, when I see videos like what Donkey released recently, which I love Donkey, at least normally I really do. Right now, him and a lot of other people I generally respect a lot, I feel are really riding this hate train right now because they're just racking up the views for it. And I understand, because the views are definitely there, but it's really unreasonable because CD Projekt Red is taking major hits, like financially, from this kind of reign, and they're one of the good guys.
Yeah, but like I said, this could have all been avoided if they had properly made sure that the game was ready. You know, tell the people to wait a little longer as they continue to test the game to see the pitfalls, and then, you know, once they are satisfied that it has, you know, met a certain parameter of it being given out to the public, then yes, you know, they can give it out to the public. But not this thing of making big promises and then not completing on those promises, and then expecting everybody just to, you know, say, we understand. No. People paid a lot of money and they're expecting a good product, you know. Yeah. That's how I think about this.
They're one of the companies that treat us right, that give us stuff. You know, we should support them, incentivize them. They've earned extra lives from us, in my opinion, because we want to support the way they do business. So, just, you know, watch this gameplay. You know, I won't say anything more about it. And make your own determination on how buggy and unforgivable you think the game is. And this is not super new gameplay, by the way. I took this gameplay like a week or two ago when I was actually making the last video. And I just didn't really have the time to put it in, but it's here now. So you get to go ahead and watch. Just a few disclaimers, last things I'll say. This is a hacking like build that you're gonna see, which is like my most high level build. Some people might belittle it because it lacks in the action category. I kind of like just hacking people and being able to get in and out of places like a phantom. That's how I play. Don't judge me for that, but much more than that, because I don't expect you guys to really care about that much. Yes, I am save scum, okay? I do that. I like to play my game like an action movie, and if I don't get the scene right the first time, I go back and I reshoot it, okay? Don't judge me. This is how I play my games. You're going to get a little view of my single-player experience. So, there you go.
Wow. Okay.
Moving on from that. I will also, I wanted to go ahead and put in real quick that I will begin contacting people now that we're in January. I'll begin contacting people who've been trying to get in contact with me for, like, months. If you don't respond, I totally get you. I understand. I took forever. If you do respond, I will respond back, at least for the time being. I seem to feel like I have the strength to do this, and I'll let you guys know if I'm about to vanish or anything like that. Yeah, I'm just if you're expecting a message from me, expect it this week or pretty soon, because that's what my full intention is now, to start doing that at this point. So, moving on from that. I have been asked by quite a few people on Reddit and even on YouTube and in general, in many places at this point, what my opinion is of the Disney canon. And you know what? I figured that I'd just go ahead and talk about that right now and clear all this up real quick. Now, first of all, you should know that obviously I'm an old-timey Star Wars fan in that, you know, I grew up with Legends. I love Legends. And even if I love Disney canon, a part of me will always stay with Legends. You know, that's never going to change. It's kind of like, for fans of Dragon Ball Z, and I know there's a lot of you out there, Broly. You know, you have new Broly and old Broly. New Broly is great. I fucking love new Broly. I might even like him much more than old Broly. However, am I going to sit here and pretend that Broly sneering at the most powerful fighters in Dragon Ball Z and telling them that he's the fucking devil didn't make me squeal like a fangirl? Come on now. I still love that. And and a part of me will always love that. And a part of me will always be a little regretful that the Broly we have now is like an innocent boy Saiyan who's like 50 years old. You know, people forget that part. But, you know, who's like innocent and actually pure of heart and stuff, whereas the old Broly was, like, as he says, the devil. So
you know, I remember the old Broly. I don't know about the new one. You know, even like the latest episodes of DBZ, I haven't been following them. I think I stopped watching DBZ at the beginning of high school. Yeah. Yeah, I think that was the time when I actually just stopped watching DBZ. I think I can't remember, but it's been a long time. I've been playing the you know, the fighting games on PlayStation, yes, and yeah, I've enjoyed those. But you know, the anime, I just haven't really been focusing on it.
There you go. Very, 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 very similar dichotomy when it comes to Star Wars canon. Even if I love Disney canon, I'm always going to have an incredibly special place in my heart for Legends. That's not going to ever change. Now, speaking now directly about the Disney canon, it is an incredibly mixed opinion, but it becomes a lot less mixed seeming when you actually let me explain my perspective on it. So when Disney got this is and by the way, I'm just going to explain this as best as I feel I understand it. If I am, and I fully admit that I could be ignorant about a lot of things here, if I'm wrong about things, I want you to correct me in the comments section. I mean, you know, you can even be an asshole about it. I actually am more interested in like becoming knowledgeable than becoming knowledgeable in a nice way. Tell me what I get wrong about this Disney canon stuff here that I'm about to talk about, because I am very interested in being right about it and understanding it well. But from what I get is that when Disney purchased Star Wars from George Lucas for several $1 billion, like $6 billion, some crazy number, which by the way, George Lucas gave most of it to charity. So, I mean, I have no reason to believe that isn't a fucking fantastic thing for a human being to do, and we should definitely give him props for that, no matter what you think of him and his ability as a director or any other thing. I mean, come on now, who among us will ever give that much to that many people who need it? So.
Honest truth, not me. I'm sorry. Before I give it out to charity, let me give it out to my family members first, you know, on my mother's side and on my father's side. Let me give them money first, and then whatever left, you know, then I'll think about charity. But my first call is the family members, and then I'll think about charity. Oh gosh.
So, just putting that out there. Now, in any case, when they made this purchase, there was a stipulation along with the price of those billions of dollars that was that George Lucas would get to choose the next like header and director of LucasArts under Disney, and he chose a friend of his, Kathleen Kennedy, who had worked as like a part of his staff on many of his movies, and he thought that she was really down and really about Star Wars, and that she would take good care of it. And initially,
surprise,
this did seem to be the case. Now, I even have friends who like to talk about, like, just trash every single inch of Disney Star Wars. And I understand, because we are all human beings. We have to expect human reactions from each other. We do. And the fact of the matter is that it's easier to throw away the whole thing than it is to sit there and deal with the painful reality that there's real quality here as well as real trouble. So, Kathleen Kennedy initially, I feel like, and again, fully willing to accept other alternative points of view here. This is just what I perceive to be the case at this moment, with a full intention of changing should that be a thing that I see as necessary or more true or whatever. Kathleen Kennedy is, you know, I don't want to call her an SJW because at this point that's like a freaking curse word, but she is an extremely agendized person. She has a very powerful agenda. It's not even necessarily a liberal agenda as much as it's a what do you call it, an equal rights, like not equal rights, my bad, equal representations agenda. Like, she wants there to be more you know, black people and women involved in major roles in Star Wars, but she also, I got the impression, kind of wanted to shift Star Wars. I'll get to that. So what I see happening here is just that I'm sorry, let me gather my thoughts here so I don't go on forever.
Okay, before he starts with that, I just want to say that, having representation, yes, that's actually very important. I do support that, right? I have no problem with that, really. The issue is, the way the stories turned out, it just didn't ignite the excitement in me, Like when I watched the previous Star Wars movies, it just didn't give it to me. I just didn't feel it. It just felt like it was a rehash of previous Star Wars movies like New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And then, of course, they also added bits and pieces from Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. It just kind of regurgitated all of those movies into these three newer movies, and I just didn't really connect with it, yeah. I just wanted a continuation after the end of Return of the Jedi. I wanted a continuation from there, how we would see Luke and the kind of family he would have, and Han Solo and Princess Leia Organa, having their children and their children having their own issues and struggles, not to be told that all of that period is now skipped over and now we're heading over to Rey and to other people. I actually wanted a continuation from the characters of Return of the Jedi. Yeah, but it's okay. What's done is done.
Kathleen Kennedy had this agenda, and while initially she seemed to be really down for being about Star Wars, and she was doing a pretty good job in my opinion, like there were a few slip-ups, but she was doing a pretty good job in my opinion of mixing her agenda with Star Wars in a way that I at least found tolerable. A lot of people give the first Star Wars movie, The Force Awakens, a lot of shit. I really liked it. And let me tell you why I really liked it. Because yes, I recognize that Rey had a lot of powers just out of nowhere that she didn't receive, that she received without any training. And that is kind of bullcrap, but I mean, Luke blew up the first Death Star using a technique that Obi-Wan certainly did not really, didn't teach him. Obi-Wan
Touché.
taught him to deflect blaster bolts with a fucking blindfold on, not how to shoot these weapons from a fucking starship he'd never flown before into the mouth of the Death Star and become the best pilot in the galaxy when he was just driving around in speeders before. I give Star Wars a lot of leeway with that. Even when they do wrong, even when they side wrong, I still don't take off as many points as I might.
I mean, they kind of explain it away with the Force, that they're able to achieve these amazing feats without learning anything, without having prior experience. That they just are able to do it because the Force is with them. So I'll just accept that as a reasoning, for Rey, for having Rey having all this type of power, and also Luke having such luck, really, to fire those torpedoes down the what was it, the exit port or something into the Death Star. So yeah, it's the Force. That's all I can say.
And what the Force Awakens did right, I mean, the hologram of Snoke being gigantic, for a moment I thought that he was actually some sort of giant alien species, like a giant, almost like a Nephilim or something. That was so cool. God, the potential behind that was so intense. Finn, God, I love Finn so much. I wanted John Boyega to be such a big part of this movie. And as you will see if you look through my Reddit comments, I am a strong believer in I ship Rey and Finn hardcore, okay?
I did too, I really did. But the powers that be had different ideas. But hey, it is what it is.
They are both running away from circumstances that were affixed to them from their birth, that they weren't courageous enough to defy until the safety and well-being of others were involved. For Finn, that was his best friend who died in that initial raid, and the people he was ordered to kill, as well as Poe Dameron to a lesser extent. And for Rey, it was BB-8 and Finn himself. Not only that, but they have, I've talked about this at length on Reddit, but the point is that they have a lot of parallels, and they help each other out. And like I've said in these comments, I'm not saying that Rey needs to shack up with no man. She don't need no man. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is this. If she is going to go ahead and have a love interest and be romantically involved with characters in the story, it would be cool. I mean, it doesn't even have to be Finn. But it would be cool if it wasn't the guy who killed Han Solo right in front of her. Like, you know, her surrogate father figure who was like one of her best friends that she got to have in what was officially a pretty miserable existence up until the point that Finn and everybody else showed up and pulled her away from it. Yeah, he killed Han Solo right in front of her. But that's not all. He also crippled Finn right in front of her. And she couldn't even say goodbye to Finn. He was unconscious when she left, because of his pursuit of them, like giving her no time. So, for me, it really is in the second movie where things foul up when it comes to the mainline series, the Disney mainline series, because there was easily enough potential in The Force Awakens to go to incredible places. And you might say, oh my god, it was way too much of a copy of Star Wars A New Hope. I see what you're saying. However, in my mind, it was different enough, having Finn involved and everything else, and how different Kylo Ren was with his powers, to be an homage as opposed to just a pure ripoff.
I hear what he's saying. But, you know, I'm still standing behind my opinion that, you know, I just wanted the continuation of where we left off with the Return of the Jedi. You know, when the Empire is disintegrating because of the loss of the Emperor and the Death Star and Death Star 2, and you know how the Empire is further being dismantled and being replaced by this new Republic. I actually wanted us to delve into that situation, you know, and how Luke is recreating the Jedi Order in his own way, you know, in his own kind of way. You know, like how we kind of saw that in The Mandalorian, you know, how after the Galactic Civil War, you know, things are starting to change slowly but surely. And, you know, you also see Luke coming in there taking what's the baby Yoda's name again? Oh my gosh, I forgot his name. But yeah, you know, seeing Luke coming in there taking the baby Yoda, taking him away to, you know, have him get taught how to use his abilities and all that kind of stuff. I just wanted the continuation of that storyline, not to be given this, really. I wasn't really impressed with it. Yeah. But anyways, like I said, what's done is done.
So, that is like my thoughts about the Force Awakens. Then there's Rogue One. I loved Rogue One. Rogue One was one of the best Star Wars movies I'd ever seen. And I know several people who think that it is the best Star Wars movie they'd ever seen, ever. And I can understand why, because it's out of genre. So in its genre, it is the best Star Wars movie because it's a really, really... There aren't any Star Wars movies like it. So if that's what you're looking for, like a Star Wars war movie, it's just hard to do better than Rogue One. And I'll say this, if they wanted to do more like that, I would be 100,000,000% on board. I would love that. If we got a Mandalorian war movie, I would just... My gosh, it would be like, what have I done to deserve such a reward? Just take my fucking money, give me the Mandalorian war movie. Give it to me. Give it to me, Disney! Give it to me! So, that's how I feel about Rogue One, basically. And
yeah, Rogue One was extremely gritty, you know? We saw more death in Rogue One than in any Star Wars movie, I think. You know, even Attack of the Clones, it just could not compare with the kind of battlescape and the death scenes that we've been seeing. You know, people being shot, explosions here and there. You know, it was amazing. And the space battle as well. Beautiful, beautiful, you know. So, yeah, we need more content like that coming from Star Wars, from LucasArts. We need more content like that. And I think they are trying to do that with, you know, The Mandalorian and even Andor. You know, Andor is quite good as well. So, yeah, big props up for those two.
Cherry on top, the fucking Vader scene at the end. My God, so good. And then, of course, came The Last Jedi, which was just tremendously misplaced, and just a lot of mistakes were made with that movie, in my opinion. And the sad part is that their fundamental mistakes and their execution is fouled up by the fact that they're fundamental mistakes. So it's not like it's bad cinematography, bad music choice. I mean, it's just not even bad choreography, not bad acting either. It's such a tragedy, man. Like you built a machine out of the most incredible, beautiful components, but the machine doesn't work. That's just the problem, is that it doesn't matter how beautiful or even well built the machine is if it fundamentally doesn't work. And as a Star Wars movie, The Last Jedi fundamentally doesn't work. And my God, what...
Like, that movie was just purely desperation. I think it was just purely desperation. They saw that the fans were not really impressed with the first two movies, and you know, they wanted this one to have a nostalgic kind of effect that, you know, the fans would love, you know, if they saw Palpatine coming back. It just didn't work. It just didn't work. And the story itself, no.
Rian Johnson was thinking when he allowed the New Hope, Luke Skywalker, to lose hope for such little payoff. My goodness, man. I don't want to get into it. Suffice to say that that's where everything turned sour. Some people give the Han Solo movie a lot of shit. Let me say this. I like the Han Solo movie. I think that the actor who did Han Solo missed the mark just a little bit, but honestly, I feel like that may be more a result of the writing than of the actual actor's performance. But either way, it was a near miss, and I can still enjoy the movie tremendously.
Honestly, I only watched that movie once. It was good, but it wasn't something that I will repeat watching over and over again. It was just a once-off thing, and I was done with it. It was okay, yeah.
A lot of people hate that there was an SJW robot in the movie. I love that. That's so... Lighten up. Can everybody just lighten up for a second? Can't we just have some fun with Star Wars? Yes. We can have an SJW robot and play it for a joke. Give me a freaking break. Gonna act like HK-47 didn't do similar stuff. Just let it happen. I don't care that there's like an SJW robot ghost in the Millennium Falcon. I don't care. That doesn't change anything about the Millennium Falcon whatsoever. I mean, it's debatable whether that thing is even in there, because frankly, at this point, we have no reason to believe the freaking Millennium Falcon is self-aware. It definitely needs pilots. It doesn't fly itself, and it's janky as fuck. But in any case, I liked that movie. I didn't hate it. I think that its terrible reception and the fact that it lost so much in so much money and so much in viewership was a direct result and repercussion of The Last Jedi. And if the Disney execs don't see that, they're just fooling themselves. They're lying to themselves for a comforting reality. But the fact of the matter that anybody who knows anything about this will tell you is that that was a direct repercussion of the movie that came before it.
I think I kind of mixed up my the movies. I think the one I was talking about was Skywalker. Yes, the last Star Wars movie that came out recently. That's the one I was talking about, not the one that AFanWithTooMuchTime is speaking about right now. I think this is the second movie that he's talking about. Yeah, sorry guys, I'm mixing up my Star Wars movies. Yeah, sorry.
And then of course you have the final one that Kathleen Kennedy made, which was, what was it? The Rise of Skywalker.
Yes, that one. That's the one I was talking about, just a while ago. Yeah, sorry guys about that.
Which just makes no sense, because it's like, I'm not going to go into that either, because I'll say this. The Rise of Skywalker was doomed from the start because it had the cover for The Last Jedi. And The Last Jedi was just a giant train wreck. It was a train wreck of the likes of which we've never seen from so many angles. From the hyperspace ram to what they did to Luke, to the instant kill of Snoke. I mean, the brave place to take that movie after that would not have been to bring back fucking Palpatine. Palpatine needs to stay dead so that Darth Vader can be the chosen one. I just ignore that. I just ignore that Palpatine came back, okay? It's stupid. So stupid. But I will say this. The one thing I liked a lot about this movie is that in this movie, they explain why the rule of two works in a way that nothing else has ever done that's really good. And that is that there's an instant essence transfer when the apprentice kills the master, which enables them to do this shit in a sneaky, selfish way that still ends up benefiting the Sith overall. Because while it was interesting for me that Darth Bane was effectively a selfless Sith, like he was willing to die to selflessly increase the power of his order and religion without him ever being alive to see immortality or the conclusion of everything. And that's really an undark-sidey. And what I used to take that to mean is like, okay, maybe Darth Bane was such a master of the dark side that he had actually mastered it. Like he was not a tool to it, he was its master, and therefore it didn't dominate him that way and he could still be selfless. However, it does make a lot more sense this way. It really, really does. It even makes sense as to why Darth Bane would egg his apprentice on into doing it, because he needs to escape his dying body. Like, it really makes a shitload of sense. And I really like that. I also like in theme that Palpatine would ultimately destroy himself, because the Jedi shouldn't be more powerful than the Sith when it comes to the combat arts and the arts of destruction. That's sort of like what the Sith do. That's what the Sith be. That being said, the way they executed it was so piss-poor garbage that it just... Like, even me sitting here and giving these caveats up, and like, oh, I liked this concept. I like the execution of all these things was done so poorly. So poorly. I mean, why would Palpatine even tell Rey about any of this? Why not just egg her on and make her kill you, you stupid fucking old piece of garbage? God damn it, man. And I like that actor, by the way. It's nothing against the actors. I don't hate Daisy Ridley. I don't hate the actress who played Rose Tico or any. I don't hate any of these actors. I love all of them. I love Star Wars actors. I love Star Wars. Okay, but God, the writing for these movies was just so. Only the first movie had any potential in it. The rest was just a downhill nosedive. And I'll say this. I was in pure denial when I came out of The Last Jedi. I thought I loved The Last Jedi because I wanted to love Star Wars so much. That's the kind of Star Wars fan I am. And just slowly it dawned on me how many things were broken by that movie. And, oh God, it's just... So, what I think happened was that Kathleen Kennedy got really carried away, and that the biggest mistake she made, it was the biggest slip, it's unfortunate, and then after that she just kept making more slips, was that she let Rian Johnson have just unlimited control when Rian Johnson was just not ready for it. I think that's the director's name. Oh my God, it was so bad. What happened was so bad. I'm becoming, you hear me? I'm getting sick just talking about it. I'm like, as I'm talking on this microphone, it is at this moment that COVID decided to strike and strike me down because I was weakened by mention of Rian Johnson. Because God, I don't want to hate that man, but I really, really can't help it to a degree. My goodness, I will never watch any of his movies because I just cannot handle what he did to Star Wars. And I understand that's petty. You can judge me for that. I understand. Like, I hope that we can still be friends, but I will not watch any of Rian Johnson's fucking movies because I will not support him after what he did to Star Wars. And it's...
In other news, I kind of like what I'm watching here in terms of Cyberpunk. I like that gun he was using. It was quite impressive. Yeah.
You can't take it back. Some people think that Disney's going to take it back. They're not going to take it back. All that being said, to wrap... Sorry. I am so rambling right now. That is totally my bad. So, all that being said, there's a different part of Disney Star Wars that is not controlled by Kathleen Kennedy that we're seeing personified in The Mandalorian and in all of the emerging properties that come out of it. And what I find so awesome about that is that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni and all the other incredible directors and actors and writers involved seem to be very keenly aware of not only Legends, but like really cool Legend stuff, like the RPG book and other things like that. And it makes me, like, how do I say this? Even George Lucas, who's on board with this now, it's like, I always felt in the past like George Lucas was a little bit spiteful towards us, you know? Like because some people were really mean to him about the prequels, he decided to spite all of us at once. And he wouldn't give us what we wanted. He would just give us what he felt we deserved. So we wouldn't get movies about certain things, and certain things wouldn't get elaborated on. There'd be really cool concepts that we just never get to see outside of like maybe a few comics or a few books, you know. And now, finally, I'm so happy that I've lived long enough to see all the things in The Mandalorian. I won't give any spoilers. If you haven't watched it, you need to fucking watch it, because it is good. Oh my god. If you're a Star Wars fan, there's nothing that has ever been made in all of Star Wars that is as good as The Mandalorian. I mean, even the Clone Wars, because while the good parts of the Clone Wars made by, you know, by Dave Filoni and the 3D animated Clone Wars, it is really good, the good parts. There are also really garbage parts about the Clone Wars. And we can't really, you know, be fair about judgment of those things and not separate them. The most garbage parts about The Mandalorian still make me freaking titter, let me tell you. I love it. I love the stuff I'm seeing in The Mandalorian. It really is the case that they're just finally giving us what we want. You know, it's like they had to fuck up so bad that as an apology, they're finally giving us what we want. And you know what? I crap you not, man. I bought Mandalorian brand cereal with the stupid little baby Yoda marshmallow heads in it.
You did what? Oh wow, you are really committed.
Tastes like garbage. I'm feeding it to like my pets because it's terrible. It's like little treats, not for my dog, of course, that'd be bad, but I have other pets that can handle that stuff. But it's terrible. It tastes so bad, but you know what? I don't regret buying it. Even though I might just end up throwing the whole thing out, I don't regret buying it. Because I want Disney to see that I support that crap. That I want more! Give me more! So, like, I want them to learn this lesson. And, you know, as we talk in these after talks, you'll learn that I am a huge advocate of being an intelligent consumer. That just like we need to be intelligent voters and things, we are in a capitalist society, and we get what we pay for. And we need to only pay for what we want to get. That's a big deal here. And right now, what we're getting in Star Wars is the piece de la resistance. So good. So, that is my opinion on that. And in my opinion, to wrap that up, there is the part of Star Wars that has been largely in control by Kathleen Kennedy, which didn't start off so bad, but has sloped really terribly. And from what I hear, she tried to stop Luke from coming back in the way that he has in more recent canon, which is terrible. If that's true, I hope.
I thought they were friends. Huh, okay. Shows how much you truly know someone.
It's not true, but if it is true, Kathleen Kennedy is spiting us, and it's terrible. And also, I hear some really bad things about this show that she's trying to make, which I don't know almost anything about, but the rumors that go around are that she's trying to remake canon in some ways that are really bad, and that, again, she's just going full throttle with the agenda over the love of the material. And I really can't support that, you know? So, I hope that she doesn't do it. But there's like what she has, and then there's what's made by, you know, Jon Favreau and his team. And I think that right now, Jon Favreau and his team are doing wonders for this. You know, I have actually purchased, like, recently, like, Disney merchandise, like Disney Star Wars merchandise, because, yo, I barely got money for this, but this helps me get through life, okay? I need to live to see this stuff. I didn't go through the last year in 2020 and all the crap we've dealt with to not get good fucking Star Wars. Yum, yum, yum. So that's what I'm looking forward to right now. That's my opinion on that. And you heard me and my whole spiel on it. So, before I wrap this up, let me say one thing. One last thing. I will soon be releasing a Patreon account to help promote my original properties. The donations there will not determine, you know, anything to do with this series. This series is going to continue on as long as I want it to go on, because this is just a personal passion project of mine. However, if you want to support my original works and help me aspire towards that goal that I have to just be a writer, it would be a tremendous thing if you would help with that, if you feel inclined to. And if you do, there will soon be a way for you to do that. Yeah, just keep an eye out on that. But until then, I'll just end it with this. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. I hope that we're looking into the maw of a fantastic new existence and not the maw of, like, the rest of the end of the world part 2. Keep an eye on that, right? Because things are quaking and shaking. But there's always a bit of a silver lining. There's always hope where life can exist. So, let's keep hoping. And again, Happy New Year, and I'll see you next time.
Okay, guys, that was the talk from A.F.W.T.M.T, discussing about Cyberpunk, the game, as well as the Star Wars movies, the latest movies that came out. You know, our expectations, our disappointments, you know, and the types of leadership that are leading the franchise and where it's heading, and, you know, how they could have done things better, but they didn't. They kind of took it their own way and left some of us lost and, you know, just a bit disappointed. And yeah, you know, it was a good discussion from A.F.W.T.M.T, you know, hearing his viewpoints on it. And he's very patient with Cyberpunk. You know, I think he's one of the very few people who I have seen on YouTube who have been patient with Cyberpunk and waiting for these patch notes and, you know, the updates and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's interesting to hear his side on how he, you know, perceives this game, and how we shouldn't really just be banging on the door and, you know, telling these people that, you know, you didn't give us what we wanted, and, you know, just trying to be the adult in the room, I should say. He is being the adult in the room, while most of us are being the children. You know, we were promised things and we were expecting things, and it did not show up. But then, you know, A.F.W.T.M.T is being the adult. It's like, no, hold on, guys, just hold on. Just be patient with them, and they will fix the game up. So yeah, it was interesting to hear his side. And yeah, guys, I guess that's it for tonight with A.F.W.T.M.T. Remember, if you want to check out the original video as well as A.F.W.T.M's YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. If you like my reaction, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos, and I'll see you guys next week. Okay? Bye-bye.